I think every kid growing up, they see like the kung fu movies, the Bruce Lee stuff. Every kid has a desire to try to want to learn how to fight, and I was just kind of in that category. My name is Tech Sergeant Eric Farmer. I train and fight in mixed martial arts, and this is me. My record's currently 4-2. I fight in the 155 or lightweight class, and my specialty is jiu-jitsu, but I'm pretty well-rounded. I train at Reflex MMA here in Valdosta, Georgia. It's not too far from the base, so it's pretty convenient for any military person that wants to come. I've been training for nearly 5 years now, on and off between deployments. I train on average 4 days a week, usually an hour and a half to 2 hours every day, as much as I can. We divide stuff up throughout the week, normally boxing on Monday, traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on Tuesday, kickboxing and no-gi Jiu-Jitsu on Wednesdays, wrestling on Thursdays with some dirty boxing, and then again Friday night, which is usually a smaller class because most people aren't dedicated to come to Friday nights. It's a traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, and then of course Saturday is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and striking. It's definitely overwhelming sometimes. Sometimes it does feel like it's just too much, especially when we have broke jets that have to be fixed and we're staying there 10-12 hour shifts, trying to make time between work, between family and between the gym. Something's going to be lost. You don't have time for everything. There's no way I could do it without my wife. She's so supportive of everything that I've ever done, and she knows my passion for this, so she does everything she can to help. It's so hard with the military, especially the exercises on base and my responsibilities as an NCO. There's been days where I've had to leave work, and she's met me at the gym with my clothes and my gear and said, "Here you go, give me a kiss, have fun, I'll see you when you get home." And I don't think a lot of people would do that.
I wanted him to be happy, and I know how important it is to have a hobby and to, pursue other things. And I knew he wasn't very happy at work at that point too, so it was like, I think important for him to have a release, It came really quickly to him though, jiu-jitsu especially, he's just very good at jiu-jitsu. And I'd been up there a couple times and watched him, and I was honestly surprised how good. Not that I had doubted him, but it was something he'd never done before.
Yes, I have a 3-year-old daughter who's a little too young to start training right now, and I have a 9-year-old son who's just recently started training. He's expressed interest in it before and taken a couple classes, but never really gotten into it until recently. It's always been something that I didn't want to force on him. I wanted it to be his decision, but the more he sees me compete and the love I have for it, the more he wants to get involved. And it's amazing, seeing him come home from the gym with a big smile and saying, Dad, let me show you what I learned. I have mats out in the garage, and we go out there and he'll show me all the techniques he learned, and it's such a great bonding experience. It brings us a lot closer. My first fight was several years ago, 6 months after I started training. The first time I came out with my music playing, it was a surreal experience. Growing up as a kid watching wrestling, you always, the music plays and then the guy comes out and there's this big crowd. You can only imagine what that feeling is like. I came out and I tried everything I could to focus just on the cage and not look around at the crowd. I walked down there and every hair on my body was raised up, and you had this feeling in the pit of your stomach this isn't real. It was definitely a one-of-a-kind experience. I didn't know what to expect, got into the fight, and it was definitely seemed more of a sparring match at first. I didn't feel that seriousness and that necessity to hurt him before he hurt me, and he ended up catching me and ended up losing in the first round. After I lost my first fight, I had to take a step back. I ended up deploying not too long afterwards and didn't have an opportunity to train, but it gave me a lot of time to think. I think I thought about that loss every single day until my next fight. I watched the video. My friend had a really shaky cell phone video of it, and I watched it several times over and over, seeing what I did wrong and what I needed to work on. And seeing those mistakes, it was one of those things where I didn't hate myself for it, but I knew I was better than that, and I wanted to prove that I was better than that. So I went back and I definitely refocused, and I made sure that the next time that I was going in there that I was ready, that I knew what to expect, and that I knew what I had to do. It's a weird feeling. If you're very passionate about something, you're gonna obsess over it. And I think a little bit of healthy obsession is good. You can definitely let it take over your life, and it can turn into a negative thing. But when this is something that I put so much time and effort to, I spend time away from my family to do this and to get better, it's one of those things where I don't want to feel like I'm wasting my time. I want to feel like I'm doing the best that I can, and I think that with my wife putting so much support behind me and spending so much time away from me, that I owe it to her as much as I owe it to myself and to my coaches. Like, I don't want to go in there and embarrass them. I guess losing my first fight by knockout was actually kind of a blessing in disguise. A lot of people go out there and they're really tentative. They're really scared about getting hit because getting hit in the face hurts. But once you've experienced it, once you've lost like that, and then you wake up and you walk out of the cage under your own power, you're like, that was it. That's the worst that this guy can do to me. Now I'm going to show him what I can do to him. But once I got back from the first deployment, like I said, I had obsessed over it a little bit, and I knew I wanted to fight again. I knew I wanted to prove myself. So I came back to the gym, and I redoubled my efforts. I made sure that when I was in there doing work, that I was doing more work than anybody else. That when people were sitting down and drinking water, that I was moving, that I was going that one extra round. I was, instead of going against the easy guys that I knew I could beat, I was pulling aside the more experienced, stronger guys that I knew were going to give me problems, because I knew that they were going to show me some stuff, and I knew that they were going to make me better. So going into that fight, I knew I had something to prove, and I knew that I had to win that fight. Once I walked into that cage and the referee said fight, there were no doubts in my mind that I was going to win. Like, I knew I had prepared, I knew I had done everything, and he was definitely going to lose. The fight lasted into the second round. The first round, I took him down and dominated him on the ground the entire first round. We came out the second round, I hit him with a few punches and kicks, put him up against the cage. I hit him with a knee, and I heard him lose his breath. He let out a pretty loud groan. It was in my corner. Even my coaches sitting outside of the cage heard him. And all of them screamed, back away and throw punches. So I pushed off and just unleashed until the referee pulled me off.
Pummel inside, grab the legs, pummel inside.
My head coach right now is Cameron Naville. He started off as a training partner. At first, he was the guy that you didn't want to fight. He was the one that, when it came time to spar or it came time to do jiu-jitsu, you tried to avoid him because you knew he was gonna dominate you. He was gonna beat you up, and you were gonna feel some pain. He's definitely the most experienced guy that we had. Definitely had that thirst for knowledge and wanted to learn. He opened his own gym, and I followed him. And I mean, he's been an amazing friend, coach, instructor, cornerman for my fights. He's been there with me for every fight that I've had, and always supporting me, always correcting me when I make little mistakes, always giving me little tweaks to help improve my game, and I wouldn't be where I am without him.
His favorite character is Spider-Man, and that's kind of, he fit the profile. Skinny dude, not a lot of muscle, not a lot of technique because he hadn't trained anywhere, so he didn't really know besides the military combatives. And not strong, not technical, just a regular guy when he came in. And now the transition he's made, he's far from a regular guy. And over the last 4 or 5 years, he's tapped out black belts and brown belts as a white belt and a blue belt. So that just speaks to it right there, where he's come from being just a simple white belt with no muscle to now where he's lean, athletic, way stronger, 10 times more technical, and now he's tapping out other instructors besides me.
Because I've been training with him for so long, there's a level of trust there, and he definitely relies on me a lot. When he's demonstrating technique, I'm usually the one that he pulls aside to help show the other students. Partly because I'm pretty familiar with the techniques he's teaching, and also because I know how to react the way he's expecting me to. after you've trained with somebody for 5 years, you get to know them pretty well, and he relies on me because he knows that I know what he's taught me, and he can depend on me for that. Training in jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts in general is, I think, has definitely made me a better NCO. In part because some of the guys that work for me are a little bit more afraid of me, so I don't have to get as loud, or don't have to try to be intimidating. And there's just that natural knowledge that they know what I do, even though I would never actually use any of it on them. I think there's that we'll call it respect. So it's definitely given me confidence. I was always the kind of person that avoided confrontation. I was never comfortable, confronting people or causing any kind of conflict. But one of the principles of jiu-jitsu is you put yourself in the positions that you're most uncomfortable in. And when you get so used to being in those uncomfortable positions, they're not uncomfortable anymore. They're just natural for you. So when you do get put in that position for real, it's just second nature to you. And I think applying those same concepts to my career in the Air Force and being an NCO has kind of helped me a lot. If you put yourself in those uncomfortable positions, it will definitely help you out. And then when a serious situation does come around, it's just second nature to you. You just react. You don't have to sit there and worry about the awkwardness or uncomfortableness. You just move forward. As far as MMA goes, I don't have any lofty goals. I am 31 years old with a career, 2 kids and a wife. It's a little too late in the game to try to become UFC champion, but I definitely want to keep competing and become the best that I can. As far as jiu-jitsu, I would love to keep working at it and become good enough to become a black belt and say that I've mastered that craft. There's really no mastering of the craft, but I think getting to that highest level is an accomplishment that you can be proud of.